Hello, this is Darren Pearson, and today I'm going to be showing you how to load external JavaScript libraries into Tumult Hype. A couple notes about this. Everything that I'm doing, I'm implementing using Hype 2 version 2.5.3. You may have a different version that you're using. And also, I have a PDF of the procedure that I'm going to be using here that's found at tinyurl.com/hype dash external, external, right there. So this is just a PDF file that I put on my Dropbox account that shows what we're going to do. Now, scrolling through this, there's actually four parts that we're going to do. We're first going to do a very, very simple alert just to create an external JavaScript file and bring it in. Next, we're going to do the same thing with an external JavaScript file, except we're going to use the getElementById to reference our one of our hype document elements. For the third part, we're going to leverage the power of jQuery. Again, really simple example, but show how to bring the jQuery library in. And then for the fourth part, we'll show how to use jQueryUI, doing the same thing. So there's a couple little tricks and tips and hints that need to go along with that. So I'm going to close out Chrome, and before I even start Hype, I'm going to create an external JavaScript file. So open up your favorite text editor, whatever one it is that you like, and I'm just going to type about 4 lines here. I'm going to call this function. I'm just going to call it red alert, parenthesis, parenthesis, curly brace, ends with a curly brace, and then I'm just going to have 2 alert statements inside here. Again, this is very, very basic, but it's just to show how to import external JavaScript libraries into Hype. So you just press the button and a second alert. This alert and the previous are located in the external library called script1.js. Okay, not too exciting, but functional. Okay, so we've got 4 lines of code there. You just press the button, period. This alert and the previous, suppose, are located in the external library called script1.js. Okay, as you might guess, I'm just going to do file, save as, and I'm going to call this script1.js. Now I'm using Text Wrangler here. A lot of Windows people like Notepad++, but I'm guessing if you're using Hype, you're probably on a Mac. So you could do this in Dreamweaver, whatever. Okay, so let's close that off. Quit. And start up Hype. I just saved it right to the desktop here. You may have different places that you want to do this. I'm going to add 2 things. I'm first going to add a text element right there. I'll just change this to just say test number 1. Move it up here. Center it. And secondly, I'm going to add a button element. There's our button. And I'm just going to change this to run red alert. Something like that. So, at this point, I'm going to do a file save, and I'm just going to save this to the desktop and call it test number 1.hype. Just so we have it right there. Okay, good. At this point, I'm going to bring in my external library. So there's a couple different ways to do that. The easiest I found is if I hit resources, and we can see there's no resources, and all I'm going to do is just take my script1.js and drag it in there. It just shows up as script1.js. So it just reads this in. Very simple. At this point, I'm going to click on my button, close the resource library, and open the inspector. So here's the inspector. I'll go over here to the 6th icon actions, and for this button, I'm going to say on mouse click, run JavaScript. And it's going to say function none. I'm going to change that to new function, and we get this second tab that pops open. again, everything's called untitled function. You can rename this to whatever you want. It really doesn't matter. I'll just call it test example 1. And inside there, all I'm going to add is our function red alert, parenthesis, parenthesis, semicolon, something like that. So this will just call that function red alert. Now, again, just to kind of look at red alert again, just to remind us, this is what it looks like. Function red alert, parenthesis, parenthesis, curly brace, and we've got 2 alert statements and a closing curly brace. So nothing tricky there. I'll do a file save. And now if I preview this, use Firefox here, as soon as I click on that, there's the first alert, you just pressed a button. There's the second alert. This alert and the previous are located in the external library called script1. So works pretty well. Looks good. I'm just going to do a file, export to HTML5 folder. Okay, yep, we get that little warning. And I'm going to call this test1 on the desktop, save. There we go. And life is good. I'm just going to do, I'll do a clean quit out here. So then inside the test1 folder, there's our HTML. Or all these other tabs. There we go. Here it is, run red alert. And there they are. Now the nice part about this is if I explore inside the test1 folder, there's the HTML. Here's the test1.hype resources folder. And inside there is script1. That looks exactly as we imported it there. So I don't really need it up here on the desktop. It imported that in. So that's our first example. Again, nothing incredible, but it's functional. So that's good. For our second example, we're going to do something a little bit more tricky. I'm going to open up Text Wrangler and or whatever your favorite ASCII editor is, and create a file called script2 that contains the following lines of code. Now I'm just going to copy and paste this part. Copy. There it is. Paste this in here. And what we have is a function called change color. And what this does is I create a temporary variable that goes and gets the background color of box 1 and saves it into a variable called temp1. Now when you use this method, it will get it by the RGB number. And then I just have an if statement. If temp1 is equal to RGB 00255, that's basically blue, then set the new background color to RGB 25500, red. Else if temp1 equals red, RGB 25500, set the new background color to green, RGB 02550. Else if it's green, set the new background color to blue, RGB 00255. So again, maybe pause the video right here. Also check out that document I have online if you want to copy and paste this code right there. But I'm going to do a file save as and just call this script number 2.js. There we go. And close Text Wrangler. Okay, so I start up my new Hype document. I'm going to first add a text element. There we go. And just call this, whoops, test number 2. There we go. And then I'm going to add both a rectangle and a button. So I'll add my rectangle element and I'll add the button right there. And on the button, I'm going to change this to change color. Just put it right about there. And here's my rectangle element. Now this is kind of important in order to make the script work. I have to set the fill style to 0000FF. So over here under element fill style color, I'm going to set this to 0000FF, which turns it to a nice blue color that we have right there. So I've got that all set up. And then this is really important. With the rectangle selected, I need to go into the identity and change both the display name and the unique element ID to box1. Now this is important that it's all lowercase, that we have this right here. Otherwise our JavaScript won't work. If we look into script 2, you notice that it's doing document get element by ID box 1 right there. So we need to have box 1, we need that to match. So going good so far. I can close this down, open up the resources, and just like in the first example, I'm going to take script 2 and drag it into the resource library. So life's pretty simple there. Next, click on the button element, go into the inspector and actions, and we'll say on mouse click, when we click this button, run JavaScript. One second here. Set it to a new function. It's called untitled function. Let's call it, test2. You can name it whatever you want. And then inside there, I'm just going to type in change color, parentheses, semicolon. Now we've read that, and I think I'm going to do a save here. File save. I'll call this test2.hype. There we go. So that's all we really need to do. You can go and add some other colors and things if you wish, but if we preview this, if I hit change color the first time, changes it from blue to red. If I hit it again, red to green, green to blue, blue to red, red to green, green to blue. So that's just cycling through those 3 different states. We could obviously add more states, but I'm just showing a very, very simple test on how to do this. So life is good, file save, export as HTML5 folder, and again, we'll just call it test2. There it is, looks good. We'll quit hype, and there's the test2 directory, and let's open it up with Safari just to verify. I don't use Safari that much, but it's a good idea to get in the habit of testing this out. Change color. Okay, good. So that was pretty similar to example 1, except we were using that get element by ID, and we had to make sure in hype to go to the unique ID identifier, unique element identifier, to give it that name that matches what we have in JavaScript. Now for the third part, we're going to implement jQuery. So let's take a look at that. Give me 1 second here. Okay. I'm going to go to the jQuery website, and I'll go download jQuery, and I'm going to get the, as of today, the compressed stable production version is jQuery 1.11.1. I'm just going to click download that. I'll save it to the desktop, and I like just renaming this jQuery.js just to keep life simple. There we go. We've got it downloaded. Looks good. I'm going to start up Hype again. There's my jQuery.js file right there. Hype's up and running. I'm going to add 2 text elements this time. Text element number 1. There we go. Text element number 2. Let's move that out of the way. And then I'm going to add a button element. Button. There we go. I'll put this down at the bottom. I'll put this one up top and just call him test number 3. And for new text right here, I'm just going to click on this and put in a really long quote. So let me find something really quick. I always like, let me see, JFK quote before this decade. I always like that one. The yeah, there we go. Oh, that's not it. Let's see if we can find the, here's the whole speech. Okay. I'll just copy these. Copy. Again, you can put in whatever quote, but this is what I like. Control V. I have to shrink this up just a tad. Maybe I'll take out, since we've got little part right there. There we go. Nice big long quote there, fills up most of the page. And on the button, I'm just going to say, call this show/hide, because that's the JavaScript function that I'm going to do. Okay, so I've got my paragraph in there. I need to go and uniquely identify this paragraph, and I'm going to call him paragraph 1. Oops. Graph1. Again, paragraph1. Very important. Uppercase and lowercase is really important with this kind of stuff. Next, open up the resource library and drag in the entire jQuery.js folder. So it's right there. That's going to be loaded. We have that in there. We do not need to associate. One second here. This is paragraph 1. I also need to identify this button. I almost forgot this step. In the inspector as button number 1, all lowercase. Button 1. Button 1. And actually for all these examples, it's just the unique element ID, but I like to do both the display name and the unique element ID. Let's save this to the desktop as test number 3.hype. Save. There it is. Looking good. Now we're not going with jQuery, we don't have to associate a JavaScript function with the button. Instead, we just have something that we're going to do on load. So this is a little bit different. Inside the inspector, I'm going to go to the second tab of scene, and I'm going to say on scene load, run JavaScript, and we'll create a new function. There's our new tab right there. We'll just call this, load jQuery. Or whatever, again, you can call it whatever you wish. And I'm going to put in the following 5 lines of code. Let me just copy and paste these here. Copy. And again, this is not supposed to be a tutorial on jQuery, so if you need to check out the jQuery website or something, that's good to do. Also, W3 Schools has a pretty good tutorial on jQuery. But what this does is we have our document ready statement, and it closes right there. We also have our opening curly brace and our closing curly brace. And what this part says right there, it says when button 1 is clicked, we're going to select paragraph 1 and toggle him over 2000 milliseconds or 2 seconds that we have right there. So the toggle function, if he's visible, it will fade him and shrink him over 2 seconds. If he's hidden, it will fade him in over the course of 2 seconds. So again, I think I typed everything correctly. Button 1 and paragraph 1. Let's just double check that. That is button 1. This is paragraph 1. We'll do a file save and test it out. There it is. Click show hide. You can see how it takes 2 seconds there. Click it again. Comes back into place. So we've got jQuery goodness working right there. So everything's looking good. Let's do a file, export as HTML5 to the desktop. Test 3. And we'll quit hype and take a look inside test 3. There it is, test3.htm. Open it up with Safari. There we go, yep. Working the way we want it. So things are good. Now we're off to the last example using jQueryUI. So jQueryUI, there's lots of examples that we can have here, but we first have to navigate to the website, jQueryUI. So lots of good documentation. I'm going to do a custom download here, and I'm just interested in the draggable function. So I'm going to first make sure I like using the stable. I'll use 1.11.2, I guess it is. And then I'm going to uncheck the toggle all button. And you can see here are all the options that we have, lots of different effects and stuff. I'm just going to go in and click draggable, which then by default should select core, widget, and mouse. So it's only going to download the components I need. I scroll to the bottom, and under themes, I'm going to say no theme, and then just say download. This will create a zip file that I'll download to the desktop. There we go. Looks good. There it is. I'll just click on it and extract it. I like to throw the zip file away. And inside here, we're going to see an external folder plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 other files. We're actually only going to need 2 of these, so we'll show how this works. Now, for this example, I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder on the desktop that I'm just going to call test 4 inside there. And I'm going to drag 2 files into test4 because like I said, I only need 2 of them. I'm first going to go inside external, and then there's a file called jQuery, and then jQuery.js. I'm going to drag that one into test4. And then I only need the jQueryUI min.js. I don't need any of the CSS ones. So I'm just going to take that one and drag into test4. So if I open up test4, there are those 2 files. So next step, I'm going to create a new Hype document with 1 text element and 3 rectangles. So text element, just call this test number 4. Drag this, drag that up to the top. And then 3 rectangles. I'm going to give them different colors. The colors really aren't important. I just want to be able to differentiate them. There's the second one. Let's place him right there and make him red. And a third rectangle. Let's place him right down there. Make him green, something like that. Now I'm going to make sure that all 4 of these have unique identifiers, and I'm just going to call them box number 1, box number 2, all lowercase, and as you might guess, box 3. Now the exact names don't matter, but you just need to do this to be consistent with the code that you're going to use. Okay. So I'm now going to do a file save, and I'm going to put it into that test4 folder that I have right there. And again, I think I'll just call it test4.hype, something like that, and save it. Okay. At this point, I can close the inspector and open up resources. And this is really important. I'm going to bring in the 2 JavaScript files that I have here, but I have to do this in the right order, otherwise things won't work. So let me see, there's test4, put him right there. I'm going to open that up, and this is critical. I need to drag jQuery.js into here first, into the resource library, and then drag jQueryUI.min.js into there second. If we do it in the opposite order, it will not work correctly. So that's good. Close this down. Open the inspector up, and I'll go to the second tab of scene, and I'm going to say on scene load, run JavaScript, and I'll create some new function here. It's called untitled function. I'm just going to call it, I don't know, make draggable. 2 G's in draggable, I think. And we can now just add in our jQuery and jQueryUI syntax. So give me 1 second. I'm just going to copy it in here. It's about 5 lines of code. Again, it's in that document that I have there. And it's going to look something like this. Let me get my indents correct. So I'm going to say document.ready. When everything's ready, I'm going to do 3 commands. I'm first going to say make box 1 draggable. I say pound box 1 dot draggable. Yep, draggable has 2 G's. And that's the default one. I didn't put any arguments in there. The second one says box 2 draggable, and then I say axis :x, and this will make sure that I can only drag him horizontally. I won't be able to drag him vertically. And then the third one, pound box 3 draggable, I'm going to say revert : true. And what that happens is when I can drag him, but as soon as I release him, he's going to go back to his original locations. Now again, I have to make sure that I gave the unique IDs exactly like that. So let me do a save, and we'll verify this works. Let me preview it in Firefox. There we go. If I click and drag on box 1, yep, he drags around. Woohoo! Box 2, I can only drag him left and right. I can't move him up and down. And box 3, I can drag him anywhere, but when I release him, you can see how he goes back to position. Now know that I'm kind of limited by the size of my hype document, so like when I start to drag him down there, he starts going kind of off screen. Same with that one. Oops, dragged him off screen. Once he's off screen, I can't really get him. The green one, however, will always revert back, so even if I drag him there, he kind of comes back. So again, we can use all sorts of jQuery UI options. For more information, just go to jQueryUI.com/draggable, and if you go and click View Source, it kind of shows you, this is how we go and do it, and then it shows all the options of if you want to constrain the movement. Again, shows some of these things, what we can do. So that's my tutorial. Let me just finish this up here. I'm just going to go in and File, Export as HTML5, put it in the test4 folder, quit Hype out. Let me see, there we go, test4. If we go inside test4, we'll see there's the HTML file, and then here's the resources. Here's the jQuery.js and jQueryUI min.js file. So again, if I open this up with whatever, draggable horizontally only, and draggable snap. So hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Appreciate any feedback that you have, and thank you very much. Have a good day, and remember, we can find the documentation, especially if you want to, excuse me while I type this in, if you want to have the copy and paste the code, go to tinyurl.com/hype-external, and you'll see there's all the code that we have for function red alert, change color. There's the first jQuery example, and there's the code for jQuery UI. So thank you very much, and have a good day.